All right, today I'm going to teach you how to write our notes, do, do-dotty, do-dee, and the quarter rest. So what I'd like to start with is I would like to just review our first three notes, which are do, do-dotty, and do-dee. So those are all review for us. So make sure that you have, we're going to draw do first, your note stem, your note head. Now because we have the 6-8 in the front, your note head has to have that dot behind it. So if we don't have that dot behind it, it technically is a different note. So please make sure that your dot is there so that do is not lonely. Now the next note I'd like to draw is going to be our do-dotty. So we're going to have our three of them right here, and you might draw yours a slightly different way that I do. This is how I typically draw mine. But we have three note stems right here, and all those note stems are connected by a bar across the top, and we have our note heads at the bottom of each of those. Now only the do gets the dot after it. Do-dotty does not. It has its note heads, but there are no dots after a do-dotty. All right, so we draw our measure line, and now we're going to draw our do-dee. So we have our note stem, our note head, and then we draw the D. So we have our note stem, our note head, and we have that little curled line right here, which is called a flag. So we have that flag. So this do does not need a dot because it has a D with it. So we have our do-dee. If we put a dot after this and have the D, then it's not correct. So make sure that your plain do has the dot, but do-dee does not, because he gets to walk with his friend who's holding the flag. Now on to that dotted quarter rest. So what we do, it's the same thing like a quarter rest. So we have the Z, and we have our C, and then we put our dot right after it. All right. So it's just like with the quarter note, dotted quarter note, you have to have the dot with it. So make sure you have a dot with it, or it is something completely different. It is like our, or it's something completely different. So make sure that you have that dot there. All right, let's practice it the other direction, just because you will see music with it in both directions. So let's practice that quarter rest again. Remember, nice thing is that it looks the exact same. Doesn't flip around, just like when we worked on our previous units with do and do day. All right, so we have that. Let's do do-dee first. So I'm gonna have my note stem. Remember, your note head is at the top for this one. And your D is right over here. And your flag has to stay on the right. That's the challenge with this one to remember, is that the flag is always on the right. So over here it's on the right, down here it's on the right. So your note head, that direction changes, but the flag does not. You have your bar line. Let's draw do next. We just have our plain note stem, our note head, and the dot goes right after the note head. That's another tricky thing for some kids to remember. Right after you draw your notes, that the dot has to follow the note head. It doesn't get to stay down here. It has to follow the note head. All right, and then our do-dotty. So same thing. We have our note stem, our note head. We have that bar across the bottom that connects them and makes you know that they go together. And there we go. Oops. And there's our patterns. Let's go ahead and read these patterns together. So starting right here, ready? Here we go. Do, do-dotty, do-dee. Let's read the next pattern. Ready? Do-dee, do, do-dotty. Very good. I do, in our virtual classroom, have a picture of some patterns. I would really like for you to please take some time and copy those down and work on writing them. You can use whatever writing utensil you'd like. Today I used pen just because it's a little bit thicker for you to see. But you might want to start with a pencil. That way, if you make any mistakes, you can erase it. Other ideas, if it's really nice outside and you have some chalk, maybe you want to go practice writing some patterns out in the chalk, or out in the driveway, or out in the sidewalk, or wherever. If you don't have paper that's plain, that's fine. You don't have to have plain white paper. You can use notebook paper as well.